In West Africa, nestled against the great Atlantic Ocean, lies a land of extraordinary diversity. This is Côte d'Ivoire, the Ivory Coast. The shorelines are dramatic. Its shores are fringed with lagoons and mangrove swamps, where the rhythm of the waves has marked time for millennia. Inland, the landscape transforms. Dense, humid rainforests, once stretching in an almost unbroken canopy, rise to meet a rolling savanna in the north. This is a world teeming with life, a mosaic of ecosystems that has shaped the human story. It is a nation whose very name speaks of a past rich with natural treasures. The earliest human presence here is ancient, a story written in stone tools and faint traces left behind by hunter-gatherer societies. These first peoples moved with the seasons, their lives intricately woven into the fabric of the natural world. They understood the language of the forest and the secrets of the savanna. Long before European maps charted this coastline, powerful kingdoms rose and fell within the lands we now call Ivory Coast. These were not simple societies, complex states with sophisticated political structures, vibrant economies, rich cultural traditions. In the northeast, the Buna Kingdom, founded by the Lobi and Kulango peoples, became a significant regional power. Its strength came from agriculture and its strategic position along ancient trade routes. Further south, a remarkable civilization emerged among the Akan people. The Abron Kingdom of Giaman, established in the 17th century, derived wealth from gold, its kings adorned in intricate golden regalia. Their influence extended widely through trade and artisan crafts. These kingdoms were part of networks of alliances and rivalries, a legacy visible in modern Ivory Coast. The history of this land cannot be told without acknowledging the profound influence of the traders who traversed it. For centuries, long-distance trade routes crisscrossed West Africa, acting as arteries for commerce, culture, and ideas. Among the most influential of these traders were the Dioula. Their caravans of donkeys laden with goods connected the Sahara with the forest. They were the master weavers of a vast commercial web. The Dioula were not just merchants. They were agents of cultural and religious change. They established trading posts like Kong, turning towns into centers of Islamic scholarship and learning. Salt, gold, cola nuts, these commodities fueled long-distance trade. Ivory was highly prized, and tragically, slavery was also part of these exchanges. The Dioula created a respected merchant class whose cultural and religious influence endures in the north today. They helped foster interconnectedness long before Europeans arrived. The 15th century brought a new and powerful force to the shores of West Africa, first from Portugal, then from other maritime nations. They were drawn by tales of gold and other riches. They named stretches of coastline, the Grain Coast, the Gold Coast, and for this region, the Ivory Coast. The name spoke of vast herds of elephants and prized tusks. Initial contact was largely based on trade. Europeans built fortified trading posts. They exchanged manufactured textiles, metals, and firearms, ivory, gold, pepper, and increasingly enslaved people. Europeans rarely ventured far inland. They relied on African middlemen empowering coastal groups. The introduction of firearms altered balances of power and intensified conflicts. The late 19th century witnessed a dramatic shift in European engagement with Africa. The scramble for Africa was on. Informal trading relationships were replaced by direct political control. France began to assert authority along the Ivory Coast. Through treaties with local chiefs, many unaware of the consequences, France established protectorates. In 1893, France declared Côte d'Ivoire a colony. The imposition of colonial rule was not peaceful. Leaders like Samori Touré led prolonged resistance. Fighting took place in both forests and savannas, but French firepower eventually prevailed. French organization and weapons overwhelmed many defenders. By the early 20th century, French control was consolidated and state building began. Assimilation applied to a tiny educated elite. For most, colonial rule meant exploitation. Taxes forced many into wage labor. Forced labor built roads, railways, and plantations. The colonial economy prioritized cash crops for export: coffee, cocoa, bananas. Much cultivation was on land expropriated from local communities. The years following the Second World War were a time of profound change across the globe. A powerful tide of nationalism was rising in Africa. In Ivory Coast, forced labor, economic exploitation, and denial of rights sowed the seeds of independence. A new generation of educated Ivorians, many veterans of the French army, returned with new perspectives. They brought a burning desire for self-determination. At the forefront was Félix Houphouët-Boigny, a physician and planter from the Baoul group. He entered politics fighting forced labor and founded the Syndicat Agricole Africain in 1944. The union evolved into the Parti Démocratique de la Côte d'Ivoire, PDCI, leading the drive for independence. Houphouët was a master politician who worked within the French system to secure rights for Ivorians. In 1946, he helped abolish forced labor, a landmark victory. In 1958, Ivory Coast became an autonomous republic. Momentum accelerated towards full sovereignty. Finally, on August 7, 1960, the French tricolour was lowered and the orange, white and green flag of the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire was raised for the first time. With independence achieved, Félix Houphouët-Boigny became the nation's first president. He would dominate Ivorian politics for 33 years, establishing a one-party state. His vision, political stability and state-led economic development pursued through close ties with France. He invited foreign investment while maintaining state control over key sectors. The country experienced remarkable economic growth, the so-called Ivorian miracle. The boom was fueled by coffee and cocoa exports. The government invested in roads, schools and hospitals. Abidjan became the Paris of West Africa. It became a magnet for migrants seeking opportunity, though prosperity was uneven. Political dissent was not tolerated. The PDCI was the only legal party. He cultivated a cult of personality, presenting himself as the father of the nation. He spent vast sums on prestige projects, most notably the Basilica at Yamoussoukro, which symbolized both pride and extravagance. He declared Yamoussoukro the political capital in 1983. By his death in 1993, he had not groomed a clear successor. The political structures were fragile. The end of his era marked the end of the Ivorian miracle and the start of uncertainty. The economic boom that defined the first 2 decades of independence was built on a fragile foundation. The miracle depended on the export of 2 commodities, cocoa and coffee. When global prices collapsed in the late 1970s and early 1980s, the miracle ended abruptly. The country plunged into severe economic crisis. Government revenues and employment plummeted. Austerity measures followed, enforced by institutions like the IMF and World Bank. Houphouët's death in 1993 created a power vacuum. Old tensions resurfaced. A succession struggle followed. Henri Konan Bedi emerged but moved to marginalize Alassane Ouattara. Bedi promoted Ivoirite, defining belonging by parentage and ethnicity, fracturing the nation. Political competition turned into ethnic conflict. A 1999 coup shattered Ivory Coast's reputation for stability. In 2002, a failed coup escalated into civil war. The country split in two, government in the south, rebels in the north. A fragile peace brokered with international help held for years. The crisis peaked after the 2010 election, when Laurent Gbagbo refused to concede to Alassane Ouattara. Despite the political turmoil, the soul of Ivory Coast remains vibrant and resilient. This is expressed most powerfully through its culture. Music is the nation's heartbeat. The talking drum and coupe de calle, born in the Ivorian diaspora, now dominates dance floors. Artists like Alpha Blondy carried messages of peace and unity to the world. Senufo, Dan, and Baoul masks and sculptures are celebrated worldwide for craftsmanship and spiritual meaning. These objects are integral to ceremonies. Each mask has a purpose. Contemporary artists blend motifs to explore identity, history, and change. Perhaps no single thing unites Ivorians more than football. Les Éléphants carry the nation's hopes. Stars like Didier Drogba became symbols of unity, famously calling for peace in 2006. Music, art, and sport provide a shared language that can heal divisions. As of today, August 28, 2025, Ivory Coast stands at a critical juncture. The deep wounds of civil wars are slowly healing, but the path to lasting peace is long. President Alassane Ouattara's government has overseen impressive economic recovery and construction in Abidjan. The nation reclaimed its position as the world's leading cocoa producer and remains a major economic hub in West Africa. However, significant challenges remain: a fragile political landscape and unresolved tensions between factions. Economic gains have not been evenly distributed. Youth unemployment and rural poverty persist, particularly in historically marginalized northern regions. The cocoa industry faces child labor issues and drives deforestation while prices remain volatile. The government and partners promote sustainable practices and seek economic diversification. Mining, technology, tourism, and conservation offer pathways to a more resilient future.